In this video, we're going to play with the backup, or also known as the Rein Back, depending on whether you're in the Western world or the English world. And as you probably already know with the backup, in a lot of areas of horsemanship, everybody has their idea, and especially with the backup. You go out there and you can find 20 different people, each having their own idea about what the backup should be and how that should happen and this, that, and the other. So I'm going to kind of give you my version of it and explain why I'm doing what I'm doing, because you know, the Western world is a bit different than the English world. So just depending on the style of riding you're doing, you're going to change it up a bit. Because in the English world, you know, you're really looking for the horse to stay up and underneath themselves and carried. And ideally, you know, in the Western world, we are too. But we go about it differently. So the English, they tend to want to kind of squeeze with the knees for the halt, and for the backup, they're going to bring their legs back slightly and put a little squeeze on as they put a feel with the reins. And there's a lot of truth behind that, why it's a good thing, because it can really help keep the back up. But what I find with most riders who aren't really looking to go to high level is that tends to create tension in the body, which then locks the horse up even more. So what I rather do, or well, let me give you the other side. The other side, the Western world, you know, if you're in cutting or reining, is, you know, they're sitting way down here and, you know, getting on, and then they might come in way up here and say, hey, back up. So they're really kind of dropping and rounding their back and getting the horse to back up. And that was actually pretty nice there, Spider-Man. So that's another way. So kind of what I'm doing is somewhere in between that. Is if my horse isn't paying attention to me, I'm going to get a little firmer. I'm going to get out here and kind of flap my legs to say, hey, pay attention to me. Come on, come with me. And then the more my horse is with me, the quieter and quieter that I'm going to get with my rein back or my backup. And so I'm just going to kind of show you here. I'm on Spider-Man. He's a 4-year-old Irish draft, and you know, I've been working with him for quite a while, but his backups still are a bit sticky. So the backups are really related to our transitions. And so I'm just going to walk on over here to the fence, come to a halt, and then the way I like to think of the halting or the transition is I turn my life off in my body. So I just turn my body down, my energy down. I just softened a little bit, and he came right down with me. Now to back up, I'm going to shift my weight back slightly and just soften. So I don't know if you can see that, but I'm here for a walk, then I halted and I just softened a little bit. Now to back up, I'm just going to soften my lower back here just a little bit and lean back slightly, not too far, because the issue with is if you lean back too far and sit too heavy on, you're sitting on their back, their lower back or mid back here at the part where you want them to really lift up underneath. So I don't want to sit too heavy on that. And now with my hands, I'm going to pick up a feel. And the feel is to kind of get him to stay soft in his head and round. There, that's nice. Now if my horse stays there, I don't want to pull on the reins to get him to back up. So then I'm going to activate my feet. It's kind of like I'm going to do this. I'm going to bump him a little bit. And if he doesn't go, then I'm going to come up and I might just tap him on the shoulders to say, hey, pay attention. Get him to pay attention to my signals of my seat in my hands. So I sit back. There, that's nice. Yeah, and he's with me, and then he got soft in his face. And that's really what we're looking for. So I don't want to have to be pulling him back with my hands. But if he pulls on me, I'm going to hold. And this is a whole nother subject of having holding hands opposed to pulling hands. And it's really easy in the backup for us to just keep pulling on the face to get the response. But the hands are about getting them to set their head and stay soft and relaxed in your hands. And your seat and body are really what tells them whether to. So there I soften to halt. He's soft in my hands, so I'm going to sit back with a little bit, just soften my lower back a little bit. Now I'm going to create a little rhythm with my lower legs to say back up. And there he's kind of popping up and looking out, so I'm just going to hold a feel. And there when he softens, nice. But I didn't say quit. Just because he softened it with his face, now he goes up, so I put a little feel to say, no, I want you down. And he hasn't given it yet. So I want him to soften and come down and round up a little bit. There. Because I don't want him to quit with his head up in the air. So we want to always stop when they're softening or they're coming down. And you may not go as far as I just went. Just all depends on what they're giving you. So if he's up in the air and he's tense and he's tight, you don't want to quit. You always want to quit when they're relaxed or quit when they're moving. Or you really want both of them. So I want him moving softly there. And see how he stayed soft and up? Now he didn't, so I keep going. I was just about ready to give him that. There, good. Now I halt. So there's two components we're looking for. Is that he gets a nice backward rhythm and that he's staying soft in my hands. They will usually, it's not too hard to get one or the other, but to get them both together is the challenge. And so with the hands, what's really going to help you is to make sure you have holding hands. So I come to a halt here, I put a feel on, say, hey, can you get soft? And he already knows this too, just getting him soft, there we go. Now I'm not going to pull once he's soft, then I'm going to sit back and just slightly sit back and activate my lower legs if he's not responding. And this isn't too bad. I'd like for him to drop his head just a little bit. Just keep the long neck and a relaxed back. There he locks his feet up, so I activate my feet to say, no, don't stop. Don't stop, because he wants to either stop or poke his head up. And I'm like, I need both of them. I need you relaxed and moving backwards. But watch my hands. I'm not pulling on him. I'm not pulling to say back up. I'm holding him there until he gives me the softness and he keeps the back up. And it took us a little while. I'm not real concerned at this point how straight he is. As he gets softer and more relaxed with this, then I'll say, okay, now you need to go the direction that I want you. So that's good. Now I want him to get soft in my hands. He's kind of leaving there, looking out, so I just put a feel. That's nice. Now I'm going to sit back slightly, drop my hips a little bit, and then just activate my feet. Every time he steps back, I relax. I don't keep my feet activated. Like here, awesome. And then I raise up to say halt. So that softening of the back is to ask him to back up. There, and he's soft in my hands here. He's quiet, pretty quiet. I'm not up there. He stalls out a little, so I activate my feet just a little bit. Good. And then I rise up again in my body. I grow taller, and that's kind of saying, okay, now it's time to halt again. So now I'm in the halt position, and if I want to go forward now, I put a little squeeze and say, let's go forward. So he has a clear understanding of what is what. So if I'm walking along, and I soften down to a halt, and then I roll my back just a little bit, my lower back slightly down. And again, it's not about turning into a puddle up here. It's just about rolling slightly, but still allowing the back to lift up underneath. I put a feel on his face to say, stay soft in my hands. And then I activate my lower legs to say, pay attention to this. And what's really nice is I'm not having up there, he's up. So if he's up, I put a feel with the reins, but I'm not pulling back. I'm just saying, hey, up there is not where I want you. I want you to have a nice relaxed top line. There you locked up. So I activate my feet to say, hey, where are you? Because I'm not going to pull back on the reins. Now there he leaned on me, so then I held. And if that's the case, then you might get firm. So there he wanted to leave forward. He got firm, but as soon as he backs up, now I'm looking for him to get soft. Kind of, sort of. And I'm just going to step forward there a little bit because he's like he's not wanting to walk back into the mud there. I'm just keeping him soft, and then I soften myself down, and he came down. Now I want him just a little bit rounder. There we go. But you can see here, and he's almost over flexing, but he's really doing that on his own. And I don't want that. I just want him soft there. And now I'm going to sit back just a little bit more, activate my seat or my legs, and say back up. There. Now eventually, because he is an English horse, so eventually what that's going to turn into is I'm just going to soften slightly. I'm going to put a little bit of a squeeze on the knees here, because that's the idea, because it allows them their back to kind of come up underneath. And then I'm just going to put an ever so slight vibration. You won't even hardly see it in my lower leg if he doesn't respond. And eventually that's going to turn into just a slight squeeze on his sides and get him to back up. So that way he will be able to transition into an English rider riding him that way. But at this stage, if you do that too early, then they tend to just lock up and get stiff, and you get stiff. And so really think about staying soft in your backup, and then if you need to help out, you can help out. Sometimes I have to even get big enough where I'll tap with the whip here. So you do what you need to get a response. And as soon as the horse backs up, you reward, and as they progress, you move on into more and more steps. You know, he's fairly far along in the backup. You know, now we're just kind of refining it a bit. So it's a great place to see. But if it was a very green horse, a very new horse, then I would just say, oh, give me one step. Oh, thank you. But it's still the same. Don't use your hands to pull them back. Use your hands to set up and keep them soft in the head and neck. Your seat and legs are what's going to motivate them to want to step back. So if you have any questions, leave it in the comments below, and look forward to the next video. See you then.